I never feel like I'm doing enough. Even when I've done a couple of workouts or 3 workouts, I still feel guilty that I should have done more. How do you know when you're doing enough for your health? And how do you stop putting so much pressure on yourself? Do you know what? I feel like this is not just like an exercise thing. I feel like this is just a modern thing. This is like a modern life problem. We're constantly being surrounded by people apparently doing more than us. When you look on, say, social media, someone's doing a marathon, or someone's just done 7 sessions a week, or 6 sessions, or 5 sessions. Someone else has meal prepped for the entire week. Someone's done 20,000 steps before they've had their breakfast. And it's really easy to always feel like we're behind. And what we have to remember is we're always comparing our own behind the scenes with somebody else's highlight reel. But we don't know their situation, and we don't know their circumstances. We don't know their work schedule. We don't know where they are with their health and fitness, what they're used to. We don't see if they've got any childcare. We don't see if they've got any injuries. We don't see that they've been training for 15 years. We just compare the outcomes. So what I would say here is we have to bring it back to basics and look at, okay, well, what's important for our health, and are we achieving that? So stripping away, any sort of comparison. And I always say, focus on baking your own cake. Don't look at anyone else's. Someone might be at a different stage of baking the cake. You may not even like their cake. So let's just focus on our own cake. But firstly, we need to make sure we have enough of the right ingredients to make a really great cake for us. Now, the World Health Organization, the NHS, they always say to aim for at least 150 minutes of moderate exercise. And that includes things like brisk walking. But they also say you need to be strength training on at least 2 days. Now, not because they've just pulled these numbers out of thin air. This is because this is where we see substantial reductions in disease risk, and also maximum improvements for health and long-term outcomes. So I'd have a look at what you're doing currently, and I'd make sure that we're hitting that. So we're getting at least 2 strength sessions in the week, and overall in the week, we're doing 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise, or 75 minutes of vigorous, or perhaps a little bit more. But that's kind of like our baseline that we want to achieve. And if we're nowhere near that at the moment, don't panic. It doesn't matter, because we can get there. We really can. And take where you're at right now and increase it by 20%. So that might be in terms of your steps, or it might just be adding another 20-minute workout in, wherever you might be on that journey. But just have a look where you are, see what you need for your health. And if you're already hitting that, and remember, it includes things like brisk walking. So say if you're walking the dog every day, then you can include that in, but I wouldn't just solely rely on that. We need cardio, we need strength, and we need holistic. So making sure that you're getting a combination of all of those in there. And if we neglect one of them, this sounds brutal, but there will most likely be consequences. So we do need to make sure we're doing all of them. And just to take the thinking out of it, you can follow the timetable, and I've got you covered. If you follow even just the first class or the second class, and then make sure you're getting some steps in, make sure you are brisk walking, you are totally covered. I always make sure there's at least 2 strength sessions in there, and then you'll have a mixture of cardio and holistic, depending on whether you follow plan A or B. Then just making sure you're walking. Aside from that, you can do the double. So that's 40 minutes, 5 days a week. So it depends on where you're at right now and what is realistic for you. And that is going to change depending on what chapter of life we're in as well. But just making sure that we're doing everything we can the best by our health. I think that's important. And I would say, to take the pressure off, just start focusing on the things that you are doing as opposed to the things that you're not doing. And another thing that I would do here that is really useful, that everyone should be doing, and I do myself as well, is setting range targets. So your non-negotiable minimum, that has got to be your safety net. And it needs to be something that is realistic for you. Like, you can easily achieve that non-negotiable minimum. Then have your ideal that you strive towards each week. So that might be, my ideal is I do the 5 workouts in the week, and I'm going to walk on top of that. And that will make sure that I absolutely get within that 150 minutes. I've done my 2 strength workouts. Your non-negotiable, where you've had a week where everything's just going wrong and life is just lifing and things are cropping up and you're struggling to fit it in. You might have a non-negotiable minimum of, okay, I'm going to do my 2 strength workouts and make sure that I get out on a walk. That's my absolute non-negotiable minimum. Hopefully, I don't have to really hit that. Hopefully, that is just a one-off, once or twice a year that happens, holidays aside and whatnot. But anyway, once or twice a year that happens. But anywhere in between is a win. So we strive towards our ideal, But if we don't hit it for whatever reason, for circumstances that are totally out of our control, it's okay. We have our safety net. So that is how to ease some of the pressure and get ourselves out of the all or nothing mindset. Because say if we start ourselves, I don't know, doing plan A or plan B, or even plan C of doing the double each day, and that is our aim, that is what we're going to do, that's what we've got in our journals, and we don't hit it, we feel like we've failed. Whereas rather than looking, say if you said you're going to do the double every day, or you're going to do the double 4 days a week, whatever it might be, and then you end up doing it on 3 days, like, wow, isn't that amazing? You've done 6 workouts, but instead we'll be thinking, I didn't do my 20 minutes. I did 6. I didn't do it. Rather than thinking, oh my gosh, that's so good. Despite the week that I've had, I've managed to fit that in. So I think it's about bigging yourself up, being your own best cheerleader, and just think about, if a friend said that to you, oh, I've had the worst week ever, and I'm really annoyed because I set myself this target. I was going to do 5 20-minute workouts or whatever, and I've ended up doing 3. You'd be like, excuse me, that's amazing. Well done. Despite everything you've got going on and you've done that, that's incredible. So just think about what a friend would actually say to you, or what you would say to a friend. Okay. Question number 2. If you could only fit in 3 20-minute classes a week, what would your ideal mix be and why? And would your answer change depending on whether the goal was weight loss, getting stronger, improving fitness, or staying healthy? Do you know what? My answer wouldn't change. If it's 3 sessions a week and 3 20 minutes a week, I would be focusing on strength. First and foremost, I would be tempted to do 2 to even 3 strength sessions. So using them all as strength, or at least 2 and then a cardio probably. But ideally, there'd be holistic in there as well. See, here's the thing. So we know roughly how many minutes we're meant to do. We know we're meant to do absolutely at least 2 strength workouts a week. 20 minutes is only a short amount of time. So ideally, I'd be saying, if you're say following plan A or plan B, if you can, adding in another strength workout is amazing. If you can't, don't worry. We've got you covered. You're going to do 2 strength sessions. And with our sessions, even though they're short, they're very efficient and we fit a lot into that 20 minutes. And as long as you're challenging yourself, you're going to be challenging your muscles, etc. But I would say, yeah, definitely strength. But here is the thing. So strength is for a quality of life. Cardio is for living a longer life, and we do holistic workouts for reducing any aches and pains and being able to keep mobile, minimizing injury, etc. Strength comes into that as well. But anyway, they all have a place and they're all important. So you could see it as like a house. Like strength that's your bricks. That's the bricks of the house. Your cardio is like the heating system in the house or the air conditioning. And holistic is like all the maintenance, oiling the doors. Do you ever oil doors? But anyway, it's like all the maintenance in the house. They all have a place and they're all really important and they're all needed. Now, if the goal was weight loss, getting stronger, improving fitness, or staying healthy, on 3 sessions a week, I wouldn't change that. On 3 sessions a week, I'll be doing 2 strength and 1 cardio on 3 sessions a week. Ideally, I'd definitely get the 2 strength ones in there. And I'd do a cardio and a holistic if possible. Core training is so important, and core is your foundation. So I'd be absolutely trying to include that in. Yet cardio is ever so important for our heart health. And that determines, usually it determines how long a person lives. The better your cardio health, the higher the likelihood that we will live a longer life. So it is really important. Our heart is a muscle, and as any other muscle like your bicep, if you don't work it regularly enough, it's going to be weaker. So that's why we do need to work the heart to make it stronger.